Hi there and greetings, and thanks for joining me again for another edition of Organizational Behavior Hack. I hope all is well for you personally as well as at work or in school. One of the common or omnipresent features of organizations is the potential for conflict. So today, in this edition of Organizational Behavior Hack, we'll try to understand conflict and why it's present in organizations, and we'll identify if conflict is bad or good. We'll also mention various ways to resolve conflict if you're a leader or manager of a business, government agency, or nonprofit organization. To get started, we might simply state that a conflict occurs when there are two people that don't get along or when there's a difference of opinion within an organization. Sometimes it's obvious that conflict exists. We can read it on people's faces, or people are demonstrably angry and upset. However, a leader and manager should not assume that conflict is not present when there are no outbursts. Conflict can be latent, meaning that there are no signs of it existing even though it does. A good leader or manager must be aware of actual or latent conflict at all times. A leader or manager should understand the causes of conflict. There can be differences of opinion about a wide variety of topics. Some leaders and employees may not like the rules of the organization. Workers may believe that the processes are flawed. Sometimes people don't understand communications and they perceive things incorrectly. On other occasions, employees feel that they are overburdened with unrealistic duties and responsibilities. Or employees believe that they are not being treated justly or compensated fairly. There can be frustrations that another worker was promoted or that the individual is stuck in a position with no opportunity for advancement. Finally, people in the organization may not like the direction of the business, government department, or nonprofit. There can be many causes of conflict. Lack of productivity, unethical behavior, and discrimination are just three of the sources of conflict that could be mentioned. David Wetton and Kim Cameron have suggested that the variables that result in conflict can be categorized into four types. First, people may not see eye to eye or get along due to differences in personality. Second, there could be informational deficiencies where communication is incomplete or ineffective. Third, role incompatibility occurs when people do not feel comfortable with the assignments they have been given. Finally, there could be a number of factors that cause frustration in the organization. This could be related to organizational goals or culture, a toxic work environment, pay, rules of conduct, unrealistic expectations, and many other issues in the business, government agency, or nonprofit. Leaders and managers may be required to spend a lot of time dealing with conflict, and this can be emotionally and physically draining. People are uncomfortable with conflict, and they believe it's a symptom of dysfunction. In fact, the common impression is that conflict is a negative experience and that it harms the goals and mission of the organization. There's some truth to this statement, of course. Conflict is not always pleasant, and it can be counterproductive. However, according to Denhart and his colleagues, conflict can be the means of improving an organization. Conflict can help resolve differences of opinion, can help the culture of the organization, and facilitate goal attainment. Therefore, conflict can be the means of making an organization better than it would be otherwise. In their book on organizational behavior, Wagner and Hollenbeck assert that conflict is one of the factors that helps organizations improve. They assert that conflict permits reconsideration of power dynamics, the degree to which power is in the hands of a leader or manager, or retained among the employees themselves. Conflict reduces disagreements or frustrations in all of the unique and complicated interactions of workers and supervisors. In addition, conflict identifies problematic interdependencies and identifies who is going to do what, when, or how. It alters budgetary allocations to address grievances or foster strategic priorities. conflict also introduces new ways of seeing things and promotes course corrections in the organization. Kenneth Thomas is well known for his work looking at or examining how to resolve organizational conflict. He recommends that at times people are assertive and that they take proactive steps to satisfy one's needs and resolve concerns. On other occasions, those involved in an organization must cooperate to ensure another person's desires are addressed. Assertiveness and cooperativeness may impact 5 other ways of managing conflict. Let's look at each type. Competition focuses a great deal on assertiveness and downplays cooperation. Since this approach is a zero-sum game, it's not helpful for long-term interactions. However, sometimes a leader must do what is best for an organization, even if it automatically creates more conflict than would be desired. Collaboration includes both assertiveness and cooperation. The goal here is to find a solution that both parties can live with. This could require a long-term commitment to problem resolution. Compromise is based on a smaller degree of assertiveness and cooperation than collaboration. In this case, each group gives up something, but there's often a feeling of resentment due to the satisficing nature of this approach. Avoidance does not include much assertiveness or cooperation. People avoid the conflict altogether and don't address the issues that are problematic. This could help people keep the peace in the short term, but it's not a long-term strategy. Finally, accommodation does not include much assertiveness, but instead gives priority to cooperation. Accommodation occurs when one person gives in to the wishes of another. This is good in the short term, but it can lead to resentment over time as well. Obviously, collaboration and compromise might be the preferred solutions in most cases, but the solution must be driven by context. As can be seen, the key is to address conflict in an effective manner. So how can this happen? First, and generally speaking, it's imperative that leaders and managers do not ignore conflict. It's important that those in charge of organizations listen to concerns and understand grievances. Pretending problems do not exist will almost always result in even greater conflict in the future. There are many other steps that can and must be taken. Leaders and managers must be open to change. They should be willing to consider new ways of seeing problems and alternative solutions for resolving them. At times, leaders and managers may want to invite coworkers or employees to participate in problem resolution. This may require a meeting or a series of meetings. Those involved should evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of different approaches. Once a choice has been made, leaders and managers should find a way to announce the decision with convincing justification. Finally, efforts should be made to invite support for the new ideas, policy change, or commitment to the new standard operating procedure. Let me provide a few examples to help us understand conflict management further. Craig is an employee and he feels he's overworked and underpaid. He expresses his frustration to you, his supervisor. In this case, you'll have to determine if Craig is a hardworking employee and if there's merit to his complaints. You'll want to listen to his concerns and determine if his workload is more onerous than those of other employees. Perhaps some responsibilities can be given to another employee who has fewer duties. You may also want to talk to human resources and see if his salary is commensurate with his job title and description. If there is justification and funds available, a raise could be given. If the assertion has no merit, you would need to explain your reasoning why Craig must perform his duties with no additional pay. Sandy has contacted HR to complain about her boss, Sally. Sandra believes Sally is rude and inconsiderate and discriminates against her because she is of a different ethnic group. In this case, human resources should be contacted to investigate the situation by talking to each person individually. If there's evidence of discrimination, action should be taken with Sally to ensure that the work environment is fair and based on justice, equity, and inclusion. Or, Perhaps Sandra is coming in late to work and spends too much time on social media during work hours. In this case, Sally may need to work with HR to create an employee development plan to improve Sandra's performance. Mediation may be needed to bring the two different parties together and attempt to resolve differences. In a third scenario, the police department in your jurisdiction is frustrated with the level of political and financial support it is receiving. After the death of George Floyd, politicians and the media have called for the defunding of the police department in your community. The police chief advises the mayor and the city council that her police officers are demoralized and leaving due to the questioning of their character. In addition, the police chief notifies others that violent and other types of crime are increasing. In this case, the mayor and city council may still need to continue to provide more sensitivity training to ensure that the police treat all people with respect and kindness. However, the mayor and city council may need to publicly state that they support officers and even allocate further funds for raises and to keep officers from leaving. Here's a final scenario. The budgeting department has just purchased some new software to track expenses. Most of the managers and employees are now complaining about the computer program. Leaders may need to determine a few things. Is the software beneficial to the organization? Have employees been adequately trained on the software? Can the network support the increased demands of the purchased software? Depending on the answer to these questions, the organization may need to revert back to the prior program, purchase new software, help employees navigate the purchased computer program, or talk to the IT folks to increase connectivity and internet speed. Thus, the resolution of this conflict is really based on the unique circumstances of this particular software program. As can be seen in each of these examples, an understanding and resolution of the problem requires communication about sensitive topics. The book Crucial Conversations is a great resource for leaders and managers to help them understand how best to address conflict in organizations. It helps people to listen, hold conversations about difficult subjects, focus on the right message, identify solutions, and persuade others to follow a course of action in order to resolve the problem at hand. I highly recommend this book. As I close out this video, let me reiterate a few points. Conflict occurs when there are different points of view or serious disagreements. Conflict is inevitable in organizations, but conflict does not have to be detrimental. Disagreements can help an organization improve and reach strategic goals. Effective conflict management strategies will be needed by leaders and managers. Working with human resources or seeking recommendations from various books may help you manage conflict more effectively. Well, I hope this information was useful. Please give a like if that was the case, and have a great day.